Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
It would be Benghazi. In retrospect, if I had upended the way security decisions are made by security professionals, maybe, maybe not, because I'm not a security professional. I mean, we set up a system where the people who are both on the ground and with experience back in Washington make these decisions. I think that's right, although in this case, the findings were they should have done more. If I had substituted my judgment for Chris Stevens, an experienced ambassador, someone who spoke the language, who knew Libya, who had been in Benghazi during the revolution, what would I have based it on? Were there security threats? Yes, but I knew there were security threats in many of our posts around the world.
Yeah, hard choices, and Americans have to be in dangerous places. Well, shouldn't they be protected? But does the explanation Hillary Clinton just give for not being hands-on with security matters regarding Benghazi violate the law? Well, our next guest wrote a great piece in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General in the Criminal Division of the U.S. Justice Department and partner at diGenova and Toensing LLP, joins us, Victoria Toensing. Hello, Victoria.
Hello, Steve.
All right, so did Hillary just admit there to breaking the law?
Well, she did, because the law requires her to make it's called a waiver in the law, but I say, to authorize Benghazi to have been used, because it was being the personnel were divided into two facilities, the CIA annex and the consulate. Under that situation, a law passed by Congress in 1999 in the aftermath of the other two African bombings, when her husband was president.
Tanzania and Kenya, yeah.
And Susan Rice was in charge of Africa, and Patrick Kennedy was in charge of security. When that occurred, Congress passed a law saying, the ARB then said, hey, nobody's to blame. What are we going to do? Everybody's pointing a finger at everybody else. So Congress passed a law that said the Secretary of State shall waive when two security requirements cannot be met, and that is if everybody can't be housed in one unit, and that was the situation in Benghazi, or if the perimeter is less than 100 feet. So the setback, from the
right.
streets and all that.
Right.
I don't know what the setback was in Benghazi, but I can tell you this: they were not all housed in one unit.
Yeah.
And she had to, and here's what Congress did, because it was so insistent that somebody was to blame or somebody took responsibility, she could not delegate it.
Yeah, and it's not only what she said. I had hoped to have had a cut of Bill Clinton. We couldn't get a hold of it. He told Gwen Ifill in talking about Benghazi that secretaries of state, and we did play it a lot in previous days, secretaries of state have never been responsible for security at embassies. Now, he might have been talking about his own presidency, and that might have been true for 7 of the 8 years. But as you point out, in 1999, that all changed.
It did indeed, and he might have missed it, but Congress required it because in the aftermath of those bombings, everybody had been blaming everyone else. And let me just say something else that Hillary said that I'm surprised interviewers. What's wrong with interviewers these days? She said, "Who am I to substitute my judgment for Chris Stevens?" Well, Chris Stevens asked for more security.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she, through Patrick Kennedy, specifically turned him down several times.
Well, I'm starting to think when she says America has to be in dangerous places, I'm starting to think she means she needs to make it as dangerous as possible.
Well, I think this was purposeful neglect in this regard, Steve. She wanted to come in because she was planning a trip to go there the end of the year. And do you know why Chris Stevens was in Benghazi?
Well, there's all kinds of reports about weapons transferring them from Libya to Syria. No, go ahead.
No, he was there because Hillary Clinton, you got to read my stuff. He was there because Hillary Clinton, on the day he was sworn in, asked him to go to Benghazi and make a report as to whether it could be a permanent post.
Okay.
Now, he didn't get it there until late May of 2012. By the time my client, Greg Hicks, got there the end of July, the first thing Greg said, because he knew about this priority, hey, what are you doing about Benghazi? Chris said, been so busy, I can't. I'm going to do it in September. I'm going to get to it because I have to do all this travel in August in Europe. So he had to be there, Chris, had to be there in September because he had to have the report done by September 30th because that is the end of the fiscal year. Yeah. And they had to ask for the money before September 30th. And there were several weeks of planning. Emails, memos went back and forth, and yet that great American, Ambassador Pickering, put in his report, knowing otherwise because Greg Hicks told him, that Chris Stevens went there independently of Washington. Huh. That great American lied.
It seems to be going around. Let me play you a soundbite of Hillary Clinton. This is number 4. Listen to Hillary Clinton, we'll call it before. Go.
New investigation. Are you satisfied with the answers, and are you content with what you know what happened?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, there are a lot of reasons why, despite all of the hearings, all of the information that's been provided, some choose not to be satisfied and choose to continue to move forward. That's their choice, and I do not believe there is any reason for it to continue in this way, but they get to call the shots in the Congress.
Now that's to Robin Roberts, one of her first interviews. Now here's the other night. Here's one of her most recent interviews. Here's number 73.
There have been, as you know, a number of investigations, including the independent one that the State Department commissioned, as well as many in Congress. There are answers, not all of them, not enough, frankly. I'm still looking for answers because it was a confusing and difficult time. But I would hope that every American would understand, number one, why we were there, because we need to be in dangerous places, and number two, that we're doing the best we can to find out what happened, and I hope that fair-minded people will look at that seriously.
All right, so on one of the first interviews she does, she says, absolutely, I know everything I need to know. And now she's saying, I have a lot of questions that are unanswered. Now, Victoria, the problem is you're going to have to hold on through the break before, I know you're chomping at the bit, to deal with that conflict in answer there, the hypocrisy from one to the other, the inconsistency. And I'll let you do that when we return with Victoria Toensing, former Deputy Assistant Attorney General, here on the Steve Malzberg Show, only on Newsmax Television. Don't go away.